Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe to watch our next video. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe to watch our next video.
Thanks for watching. Follow a brighter destiny for more powerful stories, and don't forget to subscribe.
I'm out to move. Now. Grant feels said it the way. His man says he has said 1,000 times before. Certain the room will bend around him the way it always has. Mara Vance stood beside seat 2A with her boarding pass glowing on her phone screen. Skyline, AA Slate First Class, Seat 2A, Denver to Chicago, 7:58 a.m. departure. The letters were sharp and unmistakable. Grant did not look at the screen. He looked at her navy blazer, her worn leather tote, the natural curls pulled back from her face, and he made his decision before she finished her sentence. His laptop sat open on the table. A gray suit jacket occupied the seat beside him like a small, deliberate flag planted in enemy territory. He had claimed the space, the way some men claim things not by right, but by refusing to imagine when would ever ask him to give it back. Sir, this is my assigned seat, Amara said. Her voice stayed level, though her pulse had not. I'd like you to check your current boarding pass. Was flown this route for 11 years. Grant is not moving. Nobody's ever had a problem with where I sit. It was somewhere behind them, a phone camera lifted. A woman lowered her newspaper an inch. The cabin had gone quiet in that particular way.
Not silence. It's exactly.
But the held breath of 40 strangers deciding whether to watch or look away. It was 9 minutes earlier. None of this had existed yet. Denver International Airport at 7:14 in the morning carried a stillness that never lasted past 8. Mara Vance sat near gate C-14 with a paper cup of black coffee cooling beside her laptop, watching a small blue notification pulse across her screen. 4,217 successful test alerts, 0 missed signals, average delivery time of 0. It was not supposed to be real. 6 seconds. She had built the company that produced from a folding table in her apartment 7 years earlier, and she still checked it the way other people their pulse. When access technologies existed, because MRI had once watched her grandmother miss a gate change announcement at this very airport, standing confused beneath a speaker that meant nothing to a woman who was losing her hearing and too proud to sew. System Amara built now sends a succinct visual cue, a color-coded alert, and a vibration prompt to any connected device within a terminal. Red for closures, amber for gate changes, blue for general updates. It was not taking 3 years to make the reliable to try a crowded network. It had taken longer than that to convince investors that dignity was a feature worth funding. It was not supposed to be real. Her phone buzzed. Her lead engineer, Devin Marsh, filled the screen from 4 time zones, ahead of the meeting they were both dreading and needing. With Chicago decks ready, he said. I moved the accessibility numbers to slide 9. Zod. We open with growth projections. It was them back to slide 2, Amara said. They need the problem before they get the spreadsheet. Her operations director, Talia Osei, leaned into frame. It was not supposed to be real. One of the Calder Group people asked, off the record, whether we should mention your father in the opening remarks. Mara's fingers went still over the keyboard. She had known the question was coming. She still hated hearing it out loud. When sell them my last name, she said. Oh, sell them what the product does. Her father was Marcus Vance, founder of Vance Sterling's Panel, a man whose name Amara had spent a decade trying not to walk through. Who had offered to fund Lumen before she filed a single incorporation document. She had said no, and she had meant it because she understood exactly what people would whisper if his money appeared on page 1 of her story. It was not supposed to be real. They would call it a rich man's hospital, wrecked up as a company. They would spray she had to wait everyone to get into the room. She had taken a smaller office. She had worked nights, so consulting for 2 years. She had learned the exact texture of exhaustion before she learned how to properly delegate. It was not supposed to be real. Her father remained, she called, when a contract read wrong or a board member smiled a half-second, nothing you than that. And she guarded the difference fiercely. It was 7:41. She closed her laptop and joined the priority boarding line. A gate agent named Karen Higgins glanced at her, then at the overhead sign, then back at her, as if the two images refused to reconcile. General boarding hasn't started yet, Carol said. I'm in the priority group. Ara held up her phone. Carol looked at the screen without quite looking at it. For sure this is your line? Behind a white man in a tailored suit stepped forward with a leather briefcase, and Carol waved him through with an easy, unbothered smile, never once asking to see his boarding group. Mara felt the old, familiar pressure gather beneath her ribs. Not surprise. Never surprise anymore, just recognition. The way you recognize a song you've heard too many times to enjoy. Was placed her phone under the scanner herself. It flashed green, a soft chime. Confirmed what should never have needed confirming. Was systems right, Carol said. No apology came after it, none ever did. Amara stepped past her, opened the Notes app on her phone, and typed the time, the gate number, and Carol's name. Was not starting keeping records like this 2 years earlier, after an investor once suggested gently and unforgivably that she was probably exaggerating a hotel incident for sympathy. Memory could be argued with. A timestamp could not. Near the jet bridge, a Skyline Airways poster showed 3 smiling travelers under the words, every seat, every passenger, equal respect. Mara looked at it for exactly 2 seconds. Then she boarded. Grant Whitfield had received the seat chain notice the night before at 9:22 p.m. while eating dinner alone in a hotel restaurant 3 floors above his usual suite. The aircraft had been swapped for a smaller model. His reservation had moved from 2A to 4C. The app displayed the change in plain, unambiguous language and asked him to confirm. Grant read it, exhaled through his nose, tapped the button, and closed the screen without another thought. 200 miles with Skylines online offering at Rins, and somewhere in that decade, habit had calcified into expectation. It was not speed gate agents remember the name, but that he drank his coffee with exactly 1 sugar. More than once, another passenger had been quietly relocated so that Grant could keep the wing seat. Unico never explained to him, had ever explained to him why that arrangement should not simply continue forever. Boarded early, walked past row 4 without a glance, and settled into 2A before anyone thought to stop him. The jacket went across the neighboring seat like a closed sign on a shop door. The laptop opened. The space became his. The whence make spaces theirs, not through any claim, but through the simple refusal to divulge in the world telling them no. When Amara stopped beside the row, Grant made his assessment in under 4 seconds. Younger than him by 3 decades. Well-dressed, but without the particular polish he associated with people who belonged in seat E2A. Traveling alone. In his mind, without a single fact to support it, she became someone who had likely been upgraded rather than someone who had paid for the seat, outright more likely to yield, he assumed, than to make a scene. Excuse me, sir, Amara said. My boarding pass says 2A. She turned her phone so the screen faced him. Grant did not lean toward it. Was this a last-minute upgrade? The question sounded almost casual. His eyes never left her face, waiting for the flicker of embarrassment he was certain would come. No, Amara said. I booked and paid for this seat 6 weeks ago. After the aircraft change, Skyline confirmed me in 2A. A thin smile touched one corner of his mouth. Airlines hand out promotional tosslane seats all the time now. Insult landed without ever being spoken directly. He had not said she couldn't afford the seat. He had simply refused to consider the most obvious explanation, which was in its own quiet way, worse. Check your current boarding pass, Amara said. That should settle it. That's the crew's job. Grant tapped. He lost his laptop, turned up and one to the screen, dismissing her, while leaving her standing in the aisle. Was passengers stacked up behind her. He glanced toward the growing line, as though she had personally conjured it. You're holding people up. It was Niece Callahan and arrived from the forward galley, already calculating a delay in her head. What seems to be the issue? Grant answered before Amara could. There's a duplicate seat assignment. I have 2A. Denise recognized instantly the frequent flyer pin, the familiar face from 100 Earth's Year flights, and something in her posture softened toward him before she had checked a single fact. Turned to Amara. The warmth in her voice thinned to something procedural. May I see your boarding pass? Amara handed over her phone. Denise checked the seat number, then asked for identification. Amara provided it. She asked for the confirmation code. Amara gave her that too. She asked if Amara was a skyliner. She asked when the ticket had been purchased. She answered produced another question, as though proof itself were suspicious, as though for confirmation logic require a fifth. Grant remained seated through all of it. When Denise finally glanced his way, he lifted his chin slightly. Everyone here knows me. From seat 3D, Dr. Lorraine Owens lowered the medical journal she had been reading. Her eyes moved from Amara's open, glowing phone to Grant's closed one. Verified her 4 times, she said, quiet but clear. Why haven't you checked him once? Denise's cheeks colored. Please, let us handle this professionally. Professional would mean checking both tickets, Doc said. Irritation caused Grant's face. Public scrutiny had never been part of the arrangement he expected from the world. He pulled out his phone and opened not the live app, but the screenshot, an image of his name beside seat 2A, saved from the night before. Rose at a moment that no longer existed. Was that should settle it, he said, and held it up like a verdict. Denise's posture eased with visible relief. Amara stepped closer, not toward Grant, but toward the phone in his hand. Along the top edge of the cropped image, a thin strip of notification text was still faintly visible. 3 words survived the crop. Seat seasonment you pent. Grant locked the screen a half-second too quickly, and in that small, involuntary movement, everything became clear. He had read the change. He had saved the old pass anyway. He had boarded early expecting the airline to simply move whoever came after him. It was not confusion. It was a decision, made and remade. With each passing minute, he refused to correct it. Denise looked at the darkened phone, then at her own tablet. Her thumb moved twice across the glass, and the truth appeared without any drama at all. It was 2A, Amara Vance, seat 4C, Grant Whitfield. No duplicate booking, no system error, no last-minute upgrade to argue about. Mr. Whitfield, Denise began, and her voice carried apology, not authority. Grant raised one hand before she could finish. Chose this seat months ago. The aircraft was changed last night, Denise said. Your current assignment is 4C. Grant looked back toward row 4, as though she'd suggested the cargo hold. That's an aisle seat. Yes, sir. I cannot work from an aisle seat. Denise nodded. Sudden visible concern, a concern she had shown Amara exactly 0 times across 4 rounds of identity verification. It was understand completely, she said, and something in Amara's chest tightened at the unfairness of how easily that sentence arrived for him and how hard it had been withheld from her. Miss Vance, Denise said, turning back, there's an equivalent seat available in 4B, also first class. I can add miles to your account for the inconvenience. Already confirmed 2A is mine, Amara said. I did, and Mr. Whitfield is assigned to 4C. Then why are you asking me to move? Denise's mouth tightened. Behind her, Grant closed his laptop with a sharper click than necessary. I have a major presentation in Chicago, he said. Need the window so I can work without people brushing past me every 5 minutes. I also have a presentation in Chicago, Amara said quietly. Decides whether my company gets its next round of funding. Grant's dropped briefly to her worn leather bag, then traveled back up to her. And low-heeled shoes with the faint amusement of a man hearing a claim he found inflated. It was not supposed to be real. I'm sure your meeting can be rescheduled. He knew nothing about her company, her 7 years of nights since building it.
Or the 12 people whose paychecks depended on the next 48 hours.
Still, his work was fixed and permanent by default. Hers was, in his mind, negotiable because she was the one being asked, again, to provide proof for something that should never have required proof at all. Mine can't be rescheduled, Amara said. Neither can the work of the people waiting for me. Grant's voice rose. This is exactly the problem. Every reasonable option gets refused. Denise turned to Amara. I know you're frustrated, but you're making this more difficult than it needs to be. His difference landed cleanly, and everyone in earshot heard it land. Grant was frustrated. Mara was difficult. His emotion deserved patience. Insistence required correction. Grant stood, filling the narrow gap between the seats and the aisle. Inches wires taller, Mara, and brought enough to make the space feel smaller than it was. Denise did not ask him to sit back down. She looked at Amara instead. Ma'am, please step back and give us some room. He's the one blocking the aisle, Amara said. Please don't make this more tense. From across the aisle, Dr. Owen spoke again, her voice sharpened now with restrained anger. He's the one voice and blocking the aisle. Every warning is being directed at her. Denise's face flushed. This has nothing to do with race. Amara held her gaze. To explain why his word was accepted before my ticket. Denise had no answer ready. Grant did. His patience finally broke entirely, and he pointed toward Amara with an open hand, as if presenting evidence everyone else had somehow failed to notice. Look at her, he said. Does she look like the kind of person who normally sits in 2A? The cabin went silent in a way that felt physical, a held breath spreading 3 rows in every direction. No one asked what he meant. No one needed him to explain further. Somewhere near the back, a phone camera rose an inch higher. It was not supposed to forward gallied. Trent arrived from a trial stride, a man who believed delay mattered more than detail. It was not supposed to be real. Denise met him halfway down aisle and lowered her voice, though not low enough to keep the first 3 rows from hearing. It was a passenger is refusing to cooperate, she said. She's blocking boarding. We offered her an equivalent first-class seat. Every sentence touched the truth and quietly emptied it out. She did not say Amara owned 2A. She did not say Grant had received a new assignment the night before. She did not mention the old screenshot or the comment that had just silenced the entire cabin. By the time Trent reached the row, Amara had already been rewritten into the problem. He was not looked at her before, looked at the tablet. He's nosed to the phone in her hand, then to the notes app visible beneath the boarding pass. Mom, the crew may reassign seats when necessary. Necessary for what? Amara asked. Operational needs. Is this necessary for safety? Maintenance? A medical reason? Trent hesitated, forced out of the vague language he clearly preferred. No, he admitted. Then this isn't an operational decision. You're asking me to absorb the consequence of his choice. Grant made a sharp sound of disbelief. You see what she's doing? His answer turns into an argument. Trent's eyes stayed fixed on Amara. I need you to stop documenting employee names. It was not supposed to. Why? It's escalating. I'm recording the names of people involved in a complaint. I haven't photographed anyone's private information, and I haven't interfered with your duties. Was Trent's expression hardened. He was used to resistance he could label as rude, or loud, or Thor, or Ritigiant in abortion left him with facts that refused to support him no matter how he turned or how he turned them. It was 4B for now, he said. We'll review the matter after departure. Amara glanced toward the aircraft door. Boarding had nearly finished. She understood exactly what for now meant. She would sit in 4B, the door would close, and Grant would remain in 2A forever, in every report that mattered afterward. No, she said. Trent stepped closer. This is a crew instruction. It's a seating request. I'm instructing you to move. Amara felt every eye in the cabin land on her at once, and she felt the trap tightening around the moment. Raise her voice, and they would call her aggressive. Step closer, and they would call it intimidation. Comply, and they would call the matter resolved. Who kept both hands visible and her voice level. I will comply with safety instructions. I will not call favoritism a safety instruction. It was not supposed to be real. Flush rose at the base of his neck. The sentence had stripped away the borrowed authority in his uniform, and for a moment he had nothing or pleonto with. You are now interfering with boarding, he said. Boarding is delayed because Mr. Whitfield refuses to sit in 4C. It was not your determination to make. The reservation system already made it. From row 3, Dr. Owens leaned forward. She hasn't threatened anyone. She hasn't touched anyone. She hasn't raised her voice.
What exactly are you reporting?
Trent ignored her and reached for the galleon, speaking in the flat, measured tone of a man building an official record in real time. It was as Trent Ashford on Skyline 2247. We need airport security at the aircraft door. Passenger interference in first class. Mara listened to the category shift as it happened. A paid seat had become interference. A request for equal treatment had become non-compliance. A woman standing beside her own valid reservation had become a security concern. He never once mentioned that Grant occupied the wrong seat. Never mentioned the screenshot, the unequal verification, or the absence of any threat at all. Those facts stayed inside the cabin. It was 4 chosen words, traveled straight into the terminal. Caleb Doss has started filming almost by accident, framing the scene through the gap between 2 seat backs, more out of curiosity than courage. With silver-haired executive, refusing to move. A black woman standing beside a boarding pass that had been checked and rechecked. It was not supposed to be real. A flight attendant who verified one passenger sharp EMs and the other not once. He had already begun composing a sharp captioned something which felt more spent which Grant with a she looked person who normal sat in 2IA, and the idea of turning this into entertainment suddenly felt cheap in his hands. Dr. Owens leaned across the aisle toward him. Save the original file, she said. Don't edit it. Don't crop out what happened before the argument. Caleb lowered the phone slightly. I was going to post it. You may need to do more than post it. His eyes stayed on Amara. Recording injustice is easy. Standing beside the person it's happening to is harder. Words unsettled him, precisely because they were true. A camera gave him distance. Speaking would put him inside the moment, where someone could question his memory, his motives, his right to interfere at all. He looked at the recording timer, then at Trent hanging up the Galliant phone. And he stood, his knees less steady than he expected. Mr. Whitfield knew his seat had changed, Caleb said. He showed an old screenshot. The update notice was still visible at the top. He recorded it. Grant's face sharpened into something cold. You recorded my phone. He recorded the aisle. From 2 rows back, a man checked his watch and groaned. Can we toast this? I have a tight connection. It was Dr. Owens turned toward him without hesitation. She may be removed from a flight she paid for, and your concern is the next flight. The man looked away and said nothing else. The aircraft door opened before Schmakik again, and an officer Renata Cruz stepped inside Darstop Airport security for radio clipped high on one shoulder, moving in without hurry. Took in the raised phones, the blocked aisle, Grant seated calmly at the window, and Amagara standing with both hands, visible and empty. Was Trent met her near row 2. Officer, this passenger is refusing troop direction. We need her escorted off. Officer Cruz didn't move toward Amara. Was she threatened anyone? No direct threat. Has she violated a safety instruction? She's refused to move seats. Was the move required for safety? Trent's silence answered before his voice did. No, he finally said. Officer Cruz turned to Amara. You have a valid ticket for this flight? Amara held out her phone. First class, seat 2A. Officer Cruz checked the live boarding pass, then turned to Grant. Sir, I need your current boarding pass. Not a screenshot, the live reservation. Grant resisted for several long seconds before opening the app. Seat 4C appeared beneath his name, the acknowledgement timestamp visible from the night before. Officer Cruz looked at Trent, and her voice when it came was flat and unhurried. It became complicated the moment the wrong passenger was threatened with removal. While Officer Cruz reviewed the record, Amira's evidence had already left the cabin. Who had photographed her live boarding pass, forwarded Caleb's unedited video, listed Denise and Trent by name, and sent everything to
Lumen's legal counsel. Instruction. Preserve this. Do not father yet. Send it directly to Skyline's Customer Integrity Office and request an immediate review.
wanted the airline to answer to evidence. If the system only worked once, her name entered the room, then the system had never worked at all. It was not supposed to be desk. Skylines and Sobilis would feed for me for minutes. Terputis opened the Agza ERF but compared it against Grant's reassignment and stopped cold at the name on the confirmation screen. Mara Vance, Lumen Access Technologies, with same company scheduled to present that morning to Skyline's own except the in detail the sheet pleach flat these floors of his room sat directly across the Colder group from Grant Whitfield's employer, the Calder Group,
Capital backing the entire restructuring pack. Quiet.
Alert totes to be real. The alert reached the executive floor before Trent had finished deciding whether to ignore the hold order building on his tablet. Read, hold aircraft door review pending. The color left his face in a slow, visible wave. Grant noticed. His gaze moved from Trent's tablet to Amara, suspicion replacing contempt for the first time that morning. Who exactly did you call? Didn't call my father, Amara said. I sent the evidence through the proper channel. Marcus was, at that exact moment, seated 30 streets above Chicago's Loop. Keith's Skyline's restructuring team, a folder of figures open in front of him on $172. $4 million on the table. Calder Group representatives across from him, 2 members of North Star Capital, joining by video. Grant's name sat on the deal's final review schedule. His assistant, Priya Nazari, stepped quietly behind his chair and set a phone beside his legal pad. Amara missed her 8:15 check-in, she said. It was a flag on Skyline 2247. Passenger. He were dispute. He was e-message he want. Watching expression. His was not ein quench was never done on. He, when she none more than his stone than that boarding had started. He excused himself from the table without raising his voice. Amara, he said, I'm still on the aircraft. Put me on speaker, he said. I want every question and every answer on the record. She tapped the screen. His voice filled the front cabin, calm and unhurried, carrying no title, no threat, nothing but questions. Is your boarding pass valid for seat 2A? Yes. Does Mr. Whitfield have a current boarding pass for 2A? No. His live reservation shows 4C. Has anyone threatened you or violated a safety instruction? No. Was there witnesses? Video? Caleb answered from behind her. Yes, sir. I heard the exchange from the beginning.
Grant had recognized the name Vance from a contract file weeks earlier and had once been watching the coincidence that went in his giving is or in skew or watch you
was the daughter attached to it. Now, as the voice on the speaker calmly dismantled every excuse had built that morning, his confidence began to crack at the seams. My name is Marcus Vance, the voice said. Amara is my daughter. That is not why her ticket is valid. Once hand for possibly lap. Tighten on the capital held enough weight to move the entire restructuring deal and came to EP at that very moment in the room that would decide whether the Calder Group stayed attached to it. Grant half rose from his seat, his contempt replaced by sudden urgent courtesy. Mr. Vance, if I had known who she was, I would have handled this differently. The sentence hung in the cabin, clean and damning. Then you've just admitted the problem, Marcus said, without raising his voice at all. I believe dignity depends on knowing the right name. Grant opened his mouth, but Avrock spoke first. My father's identity doesn't change what you did. It changes how afraid you are of it. She turned to Trent, who still held the tablet against his chest, though its authority had begun to look thin and borrowed. My ticket was valid before this call, she said. Your decision was wrong before this call, too. Another alert sounded on the tablet, this from Skyline's chief executive directly. Hold flight 2247 at the gate. Do not remove MS, Vance. Preserve all video, crew communications, and seating records. Captain conducting immediate review. The aircraft door stayed open. It was not supposed to be real. The people who had spent 40 minutes demanding Amara prove she belonged were now being asked to prove why they had ever decided she didn't. It was Ray Dolan what stepped out of the cockpit account at gray at the known across the townstead, and only after he understood the facts, and never a moment before my amendment did not open with an apology. He opened with a request for evidence. No one moves until I review the record, he said. Officer Cruz handed him her notes. Amara showed her live boarding pass. Grant was told specifically, open the current app, not the screenshot he kept reaching for out of habit. Captain Dolan compared both reservations, then pulled the seat history. It came back in under 3 minutes. Amara had purchased her window seat 6 weeks earlier. It was aircraft's Moat Fallard Isnor. Grant spieled really that neat, but his boarding pass had the previous night, and Ed had opened and acknowledged the change himself. There had never been 2 valid assignments. There had only been a man refusing to accept the one he'd been given. Philip sent the unedited footage direct to Land's tablet. The captain watched Grant refuse to look at Amara's ticket. Watched Denise verify her identity 4 separate times, while accepting Grant's word without question. He watched Trent label her uncooperative on a recorded line. Watched and rewatched the exact 10 seconds in which Grant asked whether she looked like kind of person who normally sat in seat 2A. Mr. Allen's house toasty free per bet. Amara's tone stead throughout. She described Grant blocking the aisle. She described every warning in the cabin landing without exception on person telling the truth. Officer Cruz confirmed there had been no threat, no physical contact, no safety violation of any kind, at any point. Captain Dolan turned to Denise. At what point did you know seat 2A belonged to Ms. Vance?
Before Mr.
Ashford arrived, she said quietly. Then, why was the passenger with the valid reservation asked to move? Her eyes dropped to the floor. Was trying to find the easiest solution.
From row 3, Dr. Owens asked. Easiest for whom? No one answered.
Because the answer was already visible to everyone watching. Easiest solution protected Grant's comfort. It spared Denise a complaint from a familiar, high-status customer. It placed the entire cost, every minute of it, on the one person who had done nothing but tell the truth repeatedly, calmly, and correctly. Captain Dolan turned to Grant. Mr. Whitfield, your assigned seat is there now. Grant stared at him as though the instruction itself were the injury. It was not an entire spectacle. You expect me to walk through this cabin like I did something wrong?
You occupied a seat that was never assigned to you,
the captain said. Record is clear. Grant stood, but did not move toward row 4. His confidence, so total 40 minutes earlier, had gone brittle at the edges. He was been humiliated in front of this entire cabin. I will file complaints against every employee involved. People will lose their jobs over this. Well, Denise flinched. The threat exposed in a single sentence exactly what pressure had been shaping her choices all morning. It was a direct and lawful instruction based on your current boarding pass. Captain Dolan said, move to 4C. Grant refused again. For the first time that morning, the phrase non-compliant passenger described the man actually rejecting a valid instruction. Officer Cruz stepped forward. Mr. Whitfield, you'll need to leave the aircraft and resolve this at the gate. As though she had somehow authored the consequences he had spent the entire morning choosing for himself, destroying a man's career over one seat. Amara held his gaze without flinching. Your career was never in that seat. Your judgment put it at risk. Officer Cruz walked him to the door. There was no struggle, no applause. It was not supposed to be real, and Wad watched him past in a silence that said more than any cheek could have. 10 Dolan informed Denise and Trent they were being removed from Flight 2247 pending review. A replacement crew was already on its way. It was not supposed to be real. No one was fragile that morning. The airlines took the record and, for once, began the process it should have followed from the very first question. Flight 2247 left Denver 78 minutes late. Amara returned to Taipei, set her laptop on the tray table, and rested one hand against the cool window glass, breathing slowly. She did not smile. The seat had been returned to her, but what the cabin bun had witnessed was larger than any seat number. How quickly taste gets mistaken for truth, how calm gets mislabeled as defiance, and how much proof a black woman is expected to produce before anyone accepts what was true from the very first sentence she spoke. Caleb sent the raw footage to Amara, to Officer Cruz, and to Skyline's investigative team before he posted anything at all. Blurred confirmations, cut confirmation numbers that changed the order of events and let the clip run just under 4 minutes. It showed the repeated verification of Amara's ticket. It showed Grant's refusal to open his reservation. It showed Trent's security call. It showed the exact moment Grant's tone changed after hearing the name Marcus Vance. The video spread before the flight had even landed in Chicago. Most shared comment underneath it did not celebrate Grant's removal. It asked a harder question. Why did her ticket only become believable? Her father's frown recognized. Well, Calder Group responded that same afternoon. Grant was placed on administrative leave and pulled from the $172.4 million Skyline deal pending an ethics review. His company quietly reopened 2 older, unrelated a junior associate's grievance, a disputed hotel conference incident, both previously dismissed as personality conflicts, both suddenly worth a second look. Grant sent Amara a letter through his attorney the following morning. It opened with regret for the damage done to his own reputation. It was closed the same way. His concern, start to finish, remained fixed on what had happened to him. Amara read it once and closed it. It was not supposed to be real. Her attorney sent back these requests in reply. Why did you look her ticket? Why did you believe your word carried more weight than her evidence? Why did your respect only appear once you recognized her father's name? Amara asked, for no public humiliation and no private settlement. You asked only that the answers be entered into the record. Skyline suspended Denise and Trent through the length of the investigation. Denise admitted in writing that she had feared a complaint long-standing premium flight liar and believed Amara would simply be easier to move. Was Trent acknowledged using the phrase non-compliant passenger, despite being unable to name a single safety violation to support it. His final report found that both employees had applied unequal verification standards, had prioritized a premium customer's comfort over a valid airport reservation, and had provided airport security with an incomplete account of what was actually happening. It was not Saparkit could have entered the restructuring talks that same morning. Instead, he placed them on hold for 45 days and attached 5 conditions to any path forward.
There were an independent review of the incident, public seat reassignment,
A rewritten sonophonisasi policy by training built around real opinions, a permanent and a frequent flyer stories or override a valid ticket. Mara added one condition of her own. Skyline could not use her image, her words, or her story in any advertising campaign. His airline had already put every seat, every passenger will repulsed on a postmerid near to the gate, and they let think their own failure a marketing line before they had actually proven anything had changed. It was not Sepultura. 6 weeks later, Skyline Airways released its independent review. The report did not describe what happened as a misunderstanding. It named 3 specific failures: unequal verification standards applied by the crew, comfort of a premium customer placed above a valid reservation, Watomet, a passenger into a security matter, the Amit and Mikoptic, Anisadi declined to accept an unfair resolution. The airline introduced a new standard, printed in plain language across every crew manual. Verify both before moving either. Screenshots could no longer substitute for live booking data. It was loyalty status, travel history, and personal preference could no longer override an assigned seat under any circumstance. The request to remove a passenger now required naming the specific safety rule involved, the specific conduct that violated it, and an airport nude security would receive an effect of a dispute. On serial built to produce quick compliance. Mara read the final report alone in her office, after everyone else had gone home. For the night she felt no rush of victory reading it. It was our promise demos written down by institutions, and a promise only proves its worth the day someone has to choose between following it and in pleasing whoever has more status in the. His presentation in Chicago had gone forward that same morning. All yet we sleep on honest hours believer. She'd changed into inside an airport restroom, carrying the same worn leather bag Grant had dismissed with a single glance. It did not open with her father's name, or with the video already spreading online. She opened with an image of her own boarding pass on the first slide. It was already carried everything it needed to, she told the room. My name, my payment, my assigned seat. What it couldn't carry was from someone else's assumptions. When she demonstrated the Lumen alert system, the software that had that very morning recorded every gate instruction with perfect accuracy, identifying changes and preserving timestamps without ever once deciding
whose attention more than anyone else's.
Was not can us what's true, she said.
People decide whether that truth gets accepted.
Lumen says a week later. After a technical review that Turik Fikenef wheeled cited it, field testing and successful field testing.
That's major evidence.
A viral incident did not appear anywhere on the list of reasons. Amara kept that document longer than she kept any headline. Denise wrote to her weeks after the suspension ended. She didn't ask Amara to defend her job. It was not supposed to be ordered. She admitted that owned the goal plan Arnie's apprentice paperate beast niris meaved. They believed was desirate they copus caparnate osina grand was the glen
East EBA's occurrence keep mystique was conduits peace while mistaking Amara's calm, pain insistence for disruption.
Amara answered with 2 sentences. The letter matters less than what you do. The next time the passenger in front of you has no famous last name. Let that person receive the fairness I had to fight for. Fair. Not the Skyline invited Caleb to speak during a new witness response program. Prance between and filming a moment and what the footage responsibility, the most footage, was first post. Officer Cruz received a formal citation for requiring hard evidence before ever exercising her authority. Months later, Amara boarded another Skyline flight. It was rows ahead. An older man had taken a window seat assigned to a young black woman traveling alone. Was held out her phone. She held out her. He explained without looking at it that he always preferred that side of the cabin. It was not supposed to be real. A flight attendant approached, asked both passengers for their current boarding passes, and checked them side by side, together, in the same breath. Her current reservation decides the seat, the attendant said. Status doesn't. The man gathered jacket and moved to his assigned row. No raised voices, no security call, no powerful surname required to make the truth land on time. Amaraba Isperthir owned Isimo and watched Want moving beneath the wing in the pale morning light. That quiet, unremarkable correction meant more to her than the report, the headlines, or the suspended contract had. She had never needed to be market each advances to deserve a seat that already had her name printed on it. Had never needed a company, a following, or a viral video for that, either. Her ticket had been enough to prove where she belonged. Her humanity had been enough before the ticket even existed. If this story showed you something about how quickly we hand out trust and how much harder we make people work to earn what should already be theirs, stay a little longer and think about the last time you watched someone get asked to prove they belonged somewhere they clearly already did. Ascribe if these stories matter you. You share it with witty entity needs to leave comment telling us quiet correction what the one that happens without a viral video or a powerful name behind blah on it is the one that actually changes anything. Flamer. This story is a work of fiction created for entertainment and educational purposes only. All characters, businesses, and events depicted are fictional and do not represent any real person, living or dead, or any actual establishment. Whose resemblance to real persons, organizations, or events is purely coincidental. This content is intended to explore themes of human dignity, workplace ethics, and social justice through narrative storytelling. It does not make factual claims about any individual, company, or institution.